I purchased a luxury penthouse in secret. Days later, my family arrived and blindsided me with heavy boxes. Your sister's moving in, I smiled, served coffee, and let them see what I had done. Can you imagine walking into your brand new home, a place you sacrificed everything for, only to have your family show up with moving boxes and announce your sister is moving in without even asking you? That's exactly what happened to me. The sheer audacity, the unbelievable entitlement, it still makes my blood boil. And what I did next? Well, let's just say it created a wall between us that no amount of apologizing could ever tear down. My name is Eden, I'm 29, and for the first time in my life, I finally had something that was mine. This penthouse in Minneapolis wasn't just some fancy apartment, it was a symbol, a declaration of independence. Years as a senior logistics coordinator for Trevanta Corp, endless late nights, grinding through spreadsheets, watching others take credit for my work, it all led to this. My sanctuary. Sleek, modern, 20th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. My safe haven. And then, bam. My mother, father, my sister Brianna, and my brother Austin, all standing in my doorway, armed with boxes and shopping bags. Your sister's moving in? We already packed her stuff. My mother delivered it like a weather report, completely oblivious to the hurricane she was unleashing. I stood there, coffee mug warm in my hand, my brain trying to catch up. I'm sorry. What did you just say? My mother, bless her heart, just marched right in, her heels clicking a warpath on the hardwood I'd agonized over. Brianna needs a place to stay while she figures things out. You have all this space, Eden. It only makes sense she stays here with you. Brianna, my 26-year-old sister, just offered this sheepish little smile from behind a stack of boxes that looked way too organized for a spontaneous move. She was always the golden child. The one who could do no wrong. The one everyone rallied around when life got tough. Job bounced, apartment bounced, relationship bounced, and every single time, our entire family mobilized like she was some wounded bird. Meanwhile, me? I'd been working since I was 16. Put myself through college working 2 jobs. Climbed the ladder in an industry that chewed women up and spit them out. I asked for nothing and, because of that, I guess I became the easy one to take from. Mom, I just moved in 2 weeks ago, I said, trying to keep my voice calm, steady. I didn't even know Brianna was looking for a new place. My mother waved her hand, already setting bags on my pristine kitchen counter. Well, now you do. We thought it would be nice for you two to spend more time together. You're always so busy. This way, you'll have family around. It'll be good for both of you. I looked at my father, begging him with my eyes for something. Any sign that he understood how insane this was. He just shrugged. That passive, infuriating shrug he always gave when my mother made a unilateral decision. It's temporary, Eden. Just until Brianna gets back on her feet. Temporary. God, that word. It had been used to describe so many things in my family. Temporary help, temporary loans that were never repaid, temporary stays that became permanent residencies. Nothing was ever truly temporary. It always became permanent, and I always became the one expected to adjust. Austin, my 32-year-old older brother who still lived with our parents, didn't even look at me. He was busy scanning my apartment like an appraiser. Nice place, he muttered, resentment dripping from his tone. You really spent all that money on this? I worked for it, I shot back, no apologies. He just smirked, that condescending smirk that made my blood pressure spike. Yeah, we know. You remind us every chance you get. It's not like we can forget how successful you are while the rest of us struggle. I bit the inside of my cheek until I tasted blood. There it was. The resentment. The idea that because I'd worked my ass off, saved, and built something, I was arrogant. Never mind that Austin lived in his childhood bedroom at 32. Never mind Brianna couldn't keep an apartment. I was the problem because I'd actually made something of myself. My mother, meanwhile, was walking through my open-plan living room, sizing it up. This is more than enough room for 2 people. Brianna can take the second bedroom. You barely use it, right? I opened my mouth, ready to scream about my plans for every inch, but Brianna cut me off. I really appreciate this, Eden. I know it's super last minute, and I'm sorry, but I promise I won't be in your way at all. Her voice, soft and apologetic, just like always when she needed something. And just like always, that familiar pressure settled over me. The pressure to say yes, to be the good daughter, the responsible sister, the one who didn't make waves. But something had shifted in me. Maybe it was finally having my own space. Maybe it was years of being taken for granted, reaching a breaking point. Or maybe it was that I'd seen this exact scenario coming from miles away. And I was prepared. I took a slow, deliberate sip of my coffee, then set the mug down carefully on the granite. "Let me get you all something to drink," I said, a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. "Coffee? Water? I have some fresh juice." My mother waved me off. "We're fine, Eden. Let's just get Brianna settled. Your father and I have dinner plans." They moved through my apartment like they owned it, opening doors, peeking into rooms, discussing furniture placement and paint colors. I watched them with this strange detachment, like it was a play I'd seen 1,000 times. Because, in a way, it was. They made decisions about my life. I complied. They took. I gave until there was nothing left. But not this time. Not anymore. I had spent the last 2 months meticulously preparing. I knew my family better than they knew themselves. I knew their playbook. I knew the moment I bought this penthouse, someone would try to move in. Inevitable, like sunrise. So, I did something radical. I followed them down the hallway, my heart pounding with anxiety and anticipation, but my face was calm. They strode confidently toward the second bedroom, the one they'd already claimed for Brianna. The one they thought she could just have. "Here it is," my mother said triumphantly, reaching for the door handle, pushing it open with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no. And then she stopped. They all stopped. Frozen. Because where there should have been a bedroom, with windows and space for furniture, there was nothing. Just a wall. A solid, professionally installed, floor-to-ceiling wall that sealed off the entire guest wing. The door they'd just opened led to smooth drywall and fresh white paint that still smelled faintly of primer. "What is this?" my mother demanded, spinning to face me, her shock turning to fury. "Where's the bedroom?" I leaned casually against the doorframe, arms crossed. "That's my private studio now. Had it converted last week. Construction finished on Tuesday." My father stepped forward, staring at the wall like it might disappear. "You walled off an entire bedroom? That doesn't make any sense, Eden." "It makes perfect sense to me," I replied calmly. "I work from home frequently, and I needed dedicated office space separate from my living area. The second bedroom and guest bathroom were structurally separate, so it was the logical choice." Austin let out a low whistle, eyes wide. "You actually sealed off a whole room just to spite us? That's next level petty, even for you." "I didn't do it to spite anyone," I said, keeping my voice level. "I did it because I wanted a functional home office. The fact that it prevents people from assuming they can move in without my permission is just a convenient bonus." My mother's face was turning an alarming shade of red. "You knew. You knew we were planning this, and you deliberately sabotaged it. You sealed off the guest room specifically to keep Brianna out." "I sealed it off to create the home I wanted," I corrected her firmly. "Brianna's housing situation isn't my responsibility. She's an adult. You're adults. You can figure out living arrangements that don't involve commandeering my apartment." "But we assumed," my father started. "I know exactly what you assumed," I interrupted, a surge of satisfaction going through me. Finally, I was saying it. "You assumed I'd just go along with this like I always do. That I'd let Brianna move in because you decided it was convenient. You assumed my space was your space to allocate however you wanted." Brianna's face flushed deep pink with embarrassment. "Eden, I really didn't mean to cause problems. I thought you knew about this. Mom said she had talked to you." "She didn't," I said, looking directly at my mother. "She never asked. She just decided." The silence that followed was thick, suffocating. My mother stared at the wall like she could melt it with her disapproval. Brianna looked between us, bewildered. Austin stood, arms crossed, a mix of shock and grudging respect on his face. "You sealed off an entire room," my mother finally said, her voice tight with barely controlled fury. "A perfectly good bedroom. Do you have any idea how much money you wasted on this?" It's my money, I said simply. And I didn't waste it. I invested it in creating the home environment I need to be productive and happy. A home environment? She laughed, but there was no humor. You mean a home environment where your own family isn't welcome? Where your sister can't stay when she needs help? I mean a home environment where I have boundaries, I shot back, my own anger rising. Where people don't just show up and make decisions about my space without asking me first. My father frowned. Eden, this is incredibly selfish. Your sister genuinely needs help right now. She's going through a difficult transition. She needs help from you, I corrected him firmly. Not from me. You're her parents. Helping her is your job, not mine. We're all family, he said, using that tone he always used to guilt me. Family helps family. That's what we do. Exactly. I retorted, my voice gaining strength. We're family, and family should respect boundaries instead of trampling all over them. Family should ask before making major decisions that affect other people's lives. Family shouldn't assume that one person exists solely to solve everyone else's problems. Austin scoffed. Boundaries? You're seriously talking about boundaries right now? You bought a luxury penthouse, and you won't even let your own sister stay here when she's in a tough spot? Do you hear how that sounds? I worked for this place, I said, steady despite the urge to scream. I didn't ask any of you for a single dollar. Not 1 cent. I earned every bit of this through years of hard work and sacrifice, and I'm not obligated to give it up or share it just because you think I should. My mother's expression hardened into something cold. I can't believe you would turn your back on your own sister like this after everything we've done for you over the years. That hit me like a slap. I actually laughed. Everything you've done for me, Mom? What exactly have you done for me? Because from where I'm standing, I've been on my own since I was 16. That's not fair, she protested, but her voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? I challenged. When I needed a car, you told me to buy my own. When I needed help with college, you said I should take out loans because you were saving money for Brianna's education. When I was working 2 jobs, barely sleeping, you threw Brianna a party because she got a receptionist job she quit 3 months later. So, please, tell me exactly what you've done for me that I should be so grateful for. The truth hung in the air, undeniable. My mother opened her mouth, then closed it. Brianna's eyes were filling with tears. Eden, I never asked for any of this. I didn't know they were going to do this without talking to you first. I swear. I know you didn't ask, I said, softening my tone when I looked at her. But you also didn't question it. You just went along with it because it was easier than figuring things out on your own. That's not fair, she whispered, but we both knew it was true. My mother grabbed her designer purse with sharp, angry movements. I think we've heard quite enough. This conversation is clearly going nowhere productive. Let's go. But what about Brianna's stuff? Austin asked. We'll take it back, my mother said coldly, shooting me a look filled with hurt and anger. Obviously, we're not wanted here. Eden has made that abundantly clear. I'm not saying you're not wanted, I tried to explain, but I knew it was pointless. They had already decided I was the villain. I'm just saying that my home isn't available as a solution to problems I didn't create and wasn't consulted about. My father shook his head slowly. You've changed, Eden. Success has changed you. You used to be so caring and generous. Now you're just cold. No, I said firmly, surprised by the strength in my own voice. I haven't changed. I've just stopped letting you take advantage of me. There's a difference. The words landed like stones in still water. For a moment, nobody moved. We stood there, surrounded by boxes that would never be unpacked, separated by truths that had needed to be spoken for years. Brianna was the first to move, picking up a box. I'm sorry, she said quietly, not meeting my eyes. I hope you know I never wanted to cause problems. I know, I said, and I meant it. I hope you find a place that works out for you. She nodded slowly, then followed our parents toward the door. Austin grabbed the remaining boxes with jerky, angry movements, muttering something under his breath. The door clicked shut behind them with a sound that felt remarkably final. And for the first time in what felt like years, I could finally breathe. Fully. Freely. The first few days were strangely peaceful. I went to work, came home, cooked for one, and reveled in the profound silence of my penthouse. No one showed up. No one called demanding explanations. It was as if they'd collectively decided to freeze me out. And honestly, I welcomed the distance. But I should have known better. On the fourth day, my phone rang during lunch. My mother's name flashed across the screen. I stared at it, my finger hovering over decline, before finally answering. Eden, we need to talk. Her voice was calm, measured, that tone she used when she was trying to sound reasonable, but was seething underneath. About what? I asked, already knowing. About what you did. About that wall you installed. About the way you treated your family when we were only trying to help your sister. I leaned back in my office chair, looking out at the city. What about the wall, Mom? You deliberately sabotaged this arrangement, she accused, her voice rising slightly. You knew Brianna desperately needed a place, and you made sure she couldn't have one. You went out of your way to prevent your own sister from having a home. I made sure I had the space I needed for my own home, I corrected her firmly. Brianna's housing situation isn't my responsibility. She's 26. She's perfectly capable of finding her own apartment. She's your sister, Eden. Your own flesh and blood. And this is my apartment, I replied. My home that I bought with my own money, that I earned through years of hard work. I'm allowed to make decisions about my own space without asking permission from anyone. A long pause. Then her voice turned cold and sharp. You've changed, Eden. Ever since you got that promotion and started making decent money, you've become completely selfish and self-centered. You only think about yourself now. I actually laughed out loud, drawing curious looks from colleagues. Selfish, Mom? I've spent my entire adult life bending over backwards for this family. I've loaned money that was never repaid. I've covered expenses no one ever reimbursed. I've listened to hours of complaints and drama without ever asking for help with my own struggles. And now, because I won't hand over my home like it's community property, I'm suddenly selfish? You're being overly dramatic, she said dismissively. We're just asking for a little help. No, I'm being honest for the first time in years, I countered, feeling something break free inside my chest. And you don't like it because my honesty doesn't serve your purposes or make your life easier. Another long pause, filled with unspoken resentments. Your father and I are very disappointed in you, she finally said, playing her trump card. We raised you better than this. I know you're disappointed, I said quietly, surprised by my calm. You've been disappointed in me for years, Mom. The only difference now is that I don't care anymore. Your disappointment doesn't control me. I hung up before she could respond. My hands shook slightly, but I felt oddly calm. For years, I had been terrified of disappointing them, of being seen as difficult or ungrateful. But now, that fear felt hollow. I wasn't the problem. I never had been. The calls didn't stop. For the next week, my phone buzzed constantly. My mother called 6 more times. My father left 3 voicemails. Austin sent angry texts accusing me of tearing the family apart. Even Brianna reached out, her messages softer, more guilt-laden. I didn't know they were going to show up like that. I'm really sorry. Can we talk? Just the 2 of us? I feel like this whole situation got completely out of hand and I want to fix it. I didn't respond to any of them. Not because I was angry at Brianna specifically, but because I knew the pattern. She'd apologize, make me feel guilty. Then someone else would need something. Someone else would assume I'd provide. I'd be right back where I started, trapped in the same exhausting cycle of giving until there was nothing left. I wasn't doing that again. Not ever. I threw myself into work, leading a major logistics expansion project. It was demanding, but deeply satisfying. My colleague, Fiona, noticed the shift. You seem different lately, she said one afternoon. Lighter, maybe? Like you're not carrying something incredibly heavy anymore. I smiled. I set a major boundary with my family. A really big one, and I actually stuck to it for the first time in my life. Fiona grinned. Good for you. Boundaries are seriously underrated. Everyone talks about self-care like it's bubble baths, but real self-care is telling people no when they're taking advantage of you. Exactly, I agreed, feeling validated. That evening, I found a handwritten note slipped under my door. My mother's distinctive handwriting. Eden, we're having a family dinner this Sunday at 5 p.m. Your father and I expect you to be there. It's time we resolve this situation like mature adults. This silence is accomplishing nothing. Mom. I read it twice, crumpled it up, and tossed it in the trash without a second thought. I wasn't going. Not a chance. Sunday came and went. My phone rang 17 times. I ignored every single call. By Monday morning, I had 3 voicemails. You're tearing this family apart over your stubbornness. How can you be so cold to the people who raised you? We just want to talk. Why are you being so unreasonable? But I knew exactly what that conversation would look like. Guilt. Pressure. My boundaries framed as cruelty. Me, the villain. I deleted them all and made the decision to block their numbers. It felt radical, reckless, but also absolutely necessary for my mental health. For the first time, I wasn't waiting anxiously for their approval. I was just existing on my own terms. 2 weeks after the wall incident, I received a text from an unknown number. This is Brianna. I'm using a friend's phone because I know you probably blocked everyone. Please don't block this number, too. I really just want to talk to you. Just the 2 of us. No parents, no Austin, nobody else. I stared at it. Part of me wanted to ignore it. But another part, the part that remembered the little girl who followed me everywhere, wanted to hear her out. I finally replied, okay, we can talk, but just talk. Nothing else. Her response came immediately. Thank you. Can we meet? I promise I'm not trying to ambush you. Coffee shop on 4th Street, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Come alone. The next morning, I arrived early, chose a seat by the window, and ordered a latte. Brianna showed up exactly on time, looking tired and uncertain. Thanks for meeting me. I wasn't sure you would. What do you want to say? I asked, guarded. She took a deep breath. I want to apologize. For all of it. I genuinely didn't know they were planning to move me in without asking you. I swear. When they first suggested it, I thought it was just an idea. I had no idea they'd show up with boxes like it was decided. But you went along with it, I pointed out, unable to keep the edge out of my voice. You packed your stuff and showed up ready to move in. She nodded, looking down at her hands. I did. You're absolutely right. And I shouldn't have. I've been relying on them way too much for too long. On you too. Even if it wasn't direct, I always knew deep down that you were the one holding everything together, and I took that completely for granted. I studied her. What changed? Why are you saying this now? I talked to my friend Jessica, she explained. She's the one whose phone I'm using. She pointed out some things I really needed to hear. She said I've been letting Mom and Dad make all my decisions, and that it's not fair to you or to me. I need to figure out my own life. What are you going to do? I asked, genuinely curious. I found a roommate situation that should work out, she said, sounding more confident. It's not fancy, but it's mine. I'm paying for it myself. I'm also seriously looking into going back to school for something practical this time. Medical billing, maybe healthcare administration. Something with actual job prospects. That sounds really good, I said, and I meant it. I know you probably don't believe me right now, she said, her voice quiet. But I really am sorry, Eden. You deserved so much better from all of us. For me especially. You've been carrying this family on your shoulders for years while we all just took and took. I felt something loosen in my chest. Not complete forgiveness, but acknowledgement. Thank you for saying that. It means more than you probably realize. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Do you think we can ever get back to normal? Brianna finally asked. Like how things used to be? I considered that. I honestly don't know, Brianna. But I also think normal wasn't actually working for me. It was working for everyone else, but it was slowly destroying me. So maybe we need to find something different instead. Something healthier. She nodded slowly. Yeah, maybe you're right. Normal wasn't really fair to you at all, was it? No, I said simply. It wasn't. We finished our coffee. As we stood to leave, Brianna hugged me. I didn't return the embrace with enthusiasm, but I didn't pull away. It wasn't a full reconciliation, but it was something. A starting point. The rest of my family, though? That was an entirely different story. Over the next month, my parents tried every angle to break my boundaries. Guilt-laden emails, coordinated pressure from extended family. My Aunt Patricia called, dripping with disappointment. Your mother is heartbroken, Eden. Don't you think you're being a little bit harsh? I told her the same thing I told everyone. I set a reasonable boundary to protect my well-being. If they can't respect that, that's their choice. Eventually, slowly, the calls dwindled. The messages stopped. The pressure eased. And I realized something that surprised me deeply. I didn't miss them. I missed the idea of them, maybe, the idealized family I'd always hoped for. But the actual reality? The exhausting, one-sided dynamic? I didn't miss that at all. Not one bit. My life became quieter, simpler, more peaceful. I poured myself into work. I picked up old hobbies, joined a pottery class, a book club. I took a solo trip to Colorado. I wasn't lonely. I was free. And that freedom felt like the most valuable thing I had ever earned. 6 weeks after the wall incident, I was on my balcony, watching the sunset. My phone buzzed. It was Brianna. Just wanted to let you know I started my classes this week. Medical billing. It's harder than I expected, but I'm actually doing it. Thought you might want to know. I smiled, genuinely, and typed back immediately. I'm really proud of you. Keep going. Her response came within seconds. Thanks. That actually means a lot coming from you. I set my phone down and looked out at the city. The wall had cost me something significant. My relationship with my parents, possibly permanently damaged, the comfortable illusion of family unity. But it had given me something infinitely more valuable. It had given me myself back. My autonomy, my freedom, my self-respect. And that, I realized with complete certainty, was worth absolutely everything. The next few months were genuinely some of the best of my life. Work continued to excel. I was promoted to Regional Logistics Director. My penthouse was exactly what I'd hoped for, a peaceful, private sanctuary. My studio, that converted guest room, was now a fully functional home office with a view that made even the longest workdays bearable. I started dating Owen, a civil engineer I met at a conference. He had an infectious laugh and, most importantly, he respected my boundaries without question. When I told him the whole story about the wall, he just laughed and said, "That's absolutely brilliant." I honestly wish I'd thought of doing something similar with my own family. One Saturday, browsing for curtains, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Hello, it's Austin. I froze. I hadn't spoken to him since that day. What do you want? I asked cautiously. I need to talk to you in person. It's important. Why would I agree to that? Because I owe you a genuine apology, he said, his usual arrogance gone. And because there's something you really need to know about Mom and Dad. Something serious. Every instinct screamed to hang up, but curiosity got the better of me. Fine. Coffee. Same place I met Brianna. Tomorrow at 11 a.m. Don't be late. He walked in looking gaunt, with dark circles under his eyes. He sat down. Thanks for meeting me. I know you didn't have to. I just waited. He took a deep breath. I've been doing a lot of thinking since that day at your apartment. About how we've treated you, how I specifically treated you, the things I said. And? I prompted. And you were completely right about everything. We absolutely took you for granted. We made assumptions about your time, your money, your space. We acted like you owed us something just because we shared DNA. And when you finally said no, and stood up for yourself, we tried to make you feel like you were the villain. What changed? I asked directly. He rubbed his face tiredly. I moved out of Mom and Dad's house. Got my own apartment about a month ago. Nothing fancy, just a basic studio. But it's mine. And for the first time, I'm actually paying all my own bills. It's been really hard. Way harder than I ever thought. And it made me realize just how much you've been handling completely on your own for years, while I was sitting in my childhood bedroom judging you for being successful. Is that what you wanted to tell me? Partly. But there's something else. Something bigger. Mom and Dad are in serious financial trouble, Eden. Bad debt. Really bad. Bad enough they're looking at potentially losing the house. My full attention. How bad are we talking? Bad enough that they're looking at potentially losing the house if they don't figure something out soon. They've been borrowing from credit cards, taking out personal loans to maintain their lifestyle. The debt's been piling up for years. I leaned back. How do you know all this? I found some financial documents when I was packing. bank statements, credit card bills they'd left lying around. At first, I thought it was a mistake, but then I started paying attention. They're drowning, Eden. Why are you telling me this? I asked carefully. Austin met my eyes. Because they're planning to ask you for money. A lot of money. Tens of thousands. And I wanted you to know before they showed up at your door. I didn't want you to be blindsided. A strange mix of emotions washed over me. Surprise, concern, and, if I was honest, a flicker of vindication. They'd spent years projecting an image of stability, judging my choices. Now that facade was crumbling. And you think I should help them? I said. No, he said, surprising me completely. Actually, I don't. I think they made their own choices and they need to face the consequences. But I also know they're going to try really hard to guilt you into saving them. I didn't want you walking into that conversation unprepared. Thank you, I said sincerely. I appreciate the warning. He nodded. I also want to apologize for being such a jerk. For acting like you owed us something. For treating your success like it was an insult instead of something to be proud of. You worked incredibly hard for everything you have, and I was wrong to make you feel bad about it. I appreciate that, I said quietly. Are you doing okay? He asked finally. Like, really okay? Yeah, I said, and I meant it. I actually am. Better than I've been in years. He smiled, though it looked sad. Good. You deserve that. You deserve to be happy. True to Austin's warning, my parents called 2 weeks later. My mother's voice was notably different, sweet, almost tentative, calibrated to sound vulnerable. Eden, sweetheart, your father and I were really hoping we could take you out to dinner. Just the three of us. We miss you terribly. I'm busy, I said automatically. Please, honey, it's important. We really need to talk to you about something. I sighed, knowing exactly where this was going. Fine, but I'm picking the restaurant, and I'm only available for an hour. I have other commitments. Whatever works for you, dear. We met at a casual Italian place. My parents arrived, strained but cheerfully putting on brave faces. We ordered food, made awkward small talk, dancing around the real reason. Finally, my father cleared his throat. Eden, we need to discuss something serious. Your mother and I have hit some rough patches financially. Unexpected expenses. How much? I asked bluntly. My mother flinched. We were thinking around $30,000. Just to get us back on stable ground. We'd pay you back, of course. With interest if you want. I took a slow sip of water. No. My father's expression shifted to confusion. Eden, we're your parents. This is serious. I understand it's serious, I said calmly. And my answer is still no. I'm not giving you $30,000. We'll pay you back, my mother insisted desperately. We promise. Every single penny. No, you won't, I said flatly. Just like you never paid back the $5,000 I loaned Austin 4 years ago. Or the $3,000 I gave Brianna when she got evicted. Or the countless other times I covered expenses and never saw that money again. You won't pay me back because you've never paid anyone back in your entire lives. That's completely different, my father protested weakly. How is it different? I challenged. Explain to me exactly how this situation is different from all those other times. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. There wasn't an explanation. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Eden, please. We're genuinely struggling here. We could lose the house. Don't you care about that at all? I care that you're struggling, I said honestly. But I'm not responsible for fixing problems you created through your own choices. You spent years living beyond your means to maintain appearances. You borrowed money you couldn't pay back. You made financial decisions without considering consequences. Those were your choices, not mine. But where are your parents? My father said, playing his strongest card. Children are supposed to help their parents when they're in need. And parents are supposed to support their children, I countered. They're supposed to treat them fairly and help them when they need it. But you didn't do that for me ever. So don't lecture me about family obligations now that you need something. My mother dabbed at her eyes. I can't believe you would abandon us like this after everything we did for you growing up. What did you do for me? I asked, genuinely curious. Please tell me specifically what you did that I should be so grateful for. She stammered, clearly not expecting the question. We raised you. We fed you and clothed you and gave you a home. That's called the bare minimum of parenting, I said. That's literally the legal requirement. You're supposed to do those things. That doesn't mean I owe you my life savings in return. I stood up, leaving cash for my meal. I hope you figure out your financial situation, genuinely. But I'm not your solution, and I never will be again. Eden, please. My mother called after me, but I was already walking toward the exit. I walked back to my office, breathing in the cool autumn air. My hands were steady. My heart wasn't racing. I felt calm, centered, and absolutely certain I had made the right choice. That evening, I sat on my balcony, watching the city lights twinkle. I thought about the wall, about the space I had protected, about the boundaries I had drawn and defended. And I realized something profound and liberating. Revenge didn't always look like anger or spite. Sometimes the most powerful revenge was simply refusing to be used anymore. Refusing to sacrifice yourself for people who had never sacrificed anything for you. Sometimes revenge looked like freedom. Like peace. Like finally choosing yourself after years of choosing everyone else first. The months that followed were genuinely some of the best of my life. My career soared. My relationship with Owen deepened. Brianna and I maintained a cautious, respectful relationship, meeting for coffee every few weeks. Austin and I texted occasionally, but kept a healthy distance. My parents had no choice but to downsize dramatically, selling their house at a loss. They never apologized. They never acknowledged taking me for granted. But they also stopped asking for help or money. And I stopped waiting for them to change. Almost a year after the wall incident, I hosted a small dinner party in my penthouse. Fiona, Owen, friends. We cooked, laughed, talked about books and dreams. When everyone left, Owen stayed to help me clean up. "This place really suits you," he said, loading wine glasses into the dishwasher. "It feels like you. Peaceful and intentional." "It does," I agreed. He glanced down the hallway, toward the studio, toward the wall. "Do you ever regret it? Building that wall and standing your ground, even though it cost you your family relationships?" I thought about his question carefully. No, not even a little bit. It was the best decision I ever made for myself. He smiled and kissed my forehead. "Good. You deserve to be happy." As I stood in my kitchen that night, looking around at the home I had built entirely on my own terms, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years, complete and total peace. Not because everything was perfect or resolved, but because I had finally stopped trying to please people who would never be satisfied no matter what I did. I had protected my space. I had defended my boundaries with everything I had. And I had proven to myself that I didn't need anyone's approval or permission to live my life exactly how I wanted. The wall wasn't just drywall and paint. It was a symbol of everything I had learned, that love without genuine respect is empty. That family doesn't automatically mean endless self-sacrifice. And that sometimes, the kindest and most necessary thing you can do for yourself is to simply say no and mean it. My parents never did recover financially. They struggled for years, eventually filing for bankruptcy. They blamed bad luck, the economy, everything except their own choices. Austin learned his own lessons about self-preservation and didn't bail them out. Brianna finished her certification, landed a stable job, and built a life that was finally hers. We stayed in touch, our dynamic healthier now. As for me, I kept moving forward. I traveled. My career advanced. Owen and I eventually moved in together, not into my penthouse, but into a new place we chose as equal partners. The penthouse remained mine, a reminder of where I came from and what I had fought so hard to protect. Looking back, I realized the wall was never really about revenge. It was about self-preservation. It was about protecting the life I had worked so desperately hard to build. It was the moment I finally stopped letting other people write the story of my life and took control of the pen myself. And in protecting that space, that boundary, that fundamental right to my own home and my own choices, I had ultimately protected the most important thing of all, myself. So, tell me, what would you have done in my place? Have you ever had to draw a line in the sand with family? I really want to know your thoughts on this. Drop a comment below.